Howdy dowdy, what's poppington and what it do, boos? Welcome to another episode of The King's List. And in this video, we'll be focusing on The Circle on Netflix, Season 2, Episode 1 through 4, which was the first little 4 episodes that were released. So let's get into this video. I'll be talking about what is The Circle, how they play the game, what were my first impressions, and what I'm looking forward to seeing for the rest of the season. So without further ado, hear ye, and welcome to The Royal King. What is The Circle? The Circle is a reality television strategy show that essentially is like a Big Brother and social media game smashed into one. The purpose is to be the top influencer at the end and you'll win $250,000, $500,000, million, whatever the prize is. How they play it is every week or every session you'll be rated with the 8 people who are currently in the house, and it'll be the top 2 influencers and they'll pick who the person they're going to block that week, day, however they play. And when that person's out, whatever they show a video and do whatever they want to do. It can be a catfish, you can go in there as yourself. I explained everything, but there's like a little twist and things in the middle, so I'll hopefully go over throughout that as I'm reviewing this for the duration of the season. So let me get into my first impressions of everyone. So first things first, the first person that walked into the house, Savannah, I absolutely loved her. So when I watch these shows, I try to have like a top 3, top 5 based off of first impression and see if my first impressions make it and if they last. So Savannah was the first person who I automatically clicked with. I think she's brilliant. I think she's beautiful. I think that she is a mixture of everything that you want to have in this game. She has the look, so you're going to want to keep her around, and she's going to look like friendly, inviting, welcoming, all those types of things. And also she's smart as hell, so while you're like, oh, I want to play this game with her, she's like, let me play this game on you. And she talked about how she's a gamer and stuff like that, so I have no doubt in my mind that she's definitely going to be one of the girls who gonna really shake this show up. The second person that came in was Jack. I didn't really care for Jack. He's coming in as a catfish. I have a bias against catfish, but also he came in as like this goober frat looking guy, saying that he's going to be the villain of the show. So be prepared and be on the lookout and wahaha. That type of energy coming into the show is too much for me. If you're going to be the villain, you're going to show that you're a villain with your attitude. He doesn't give that. So he'll be pretending to be this sorority girl, Emily, one of his friends or whatever. More power to him, girl. Next person that came in was Brian, which is another person who I didn't necessarily think, oh, you're going to be in my top. But I was like, he got a nice little energy to him. I want to see more about it. Apparently, he was on America's Next Top Model, and he definitely looks like the type. I don't remember him, so apparently he didn't leave that much of an impression. So I was like, well, let's hope he leaves a longer impression in this circle house. He is the embodiment of white, like, love and light and peace and yogi energy. So I was excited to see how that was going to unfold in the house. And then next we have the girl named Delisa, and she coming in from the Big Down Bronx, 23 backwards, just gives me city girls, hot girls energy, like, that's what she blasts in her house. But she'll be catfishing as her fine ass husband, Trevor. And being like a single dad and just saying that, like, basically she could have a quarter of her personality and pretend to be her husband, and she probably will go farther in the game as him than she would as her, which is true because the bar is so low for men. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I have a few thoughts about Delisa that unfolds with the rest of the game. But when I saw her, I was like, oh girl, give me more, give me more. So they put them in a little group chat and I'm like, this is nice. This is people from all different backgrounds, all different walks, and just all different personalities. So let's see how these people mix and mangle and jangle in the little boiling pot called The Circle Season 2. And they introduced, oh my goodness, my girl, Alicia. However, when I first saw her, she wasn't my girl. I was like, who is this person with this blue hair that's coming in? Like, she black, so I'm rooting for her regardless if I like her or not. But she's a lot. But she's from Texas, and she went to my alma mater, Go Mean Green. So I think that, and also seeing her just be real as hell throughout the rest of the season, she definitely landed in my top 2. And she's not number 2, okay? So she had to bump Savannah a little down. But yeah, I was really looking forward to what she does. And also I related to her because she was a substitute teacher. Girl, I was a substitute teacher before I got this little job that I'm like having one now. So I was like, okay, I'm interested to see what unfolds with Alicia. I'll see what all she got farther on. Then Lee came in, and he's another person from Texas. So I'm like, yay from Texas, but also he's like this old white guy. And honestly, y'all, I was like, oh my goodness, like, girl, somebody vote him out first. But thankfully, he's a catfish, and he's going to be playing a 21-year-old or 20-year-old guy named River, which I just think is so weird. I'm like, how do you ask people, like, hey, can I catfish you on this show? And they're like, okay, cool. Which I guess, like, it's their, you know, they want to be a model or something, our personality, like, it's good exposure, but it's just so weird to me. And, like, he's an old-ass man trying to play this 20, like, you could at least been 30 years old, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna play heartbroken. Like, that's his strategy, of being like this little mopey, down in the dumps ass, like, little white boy, queer, whatever, like, which is all the rage, and they get all the sympathy, and they get all the passes. So he's playing a smart ass game, but you wouldn't play with me, River, because I would have voted your ass out off top. Then they add them, and they're like, oh my gosh, how's this experience? And this is how Bryant became in my top, because they were like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. And he was like, well, I sort of want to, like, destigmatize the word crazy. I mean, not that he said it to them in the chat, but the fact that he said that, I was like, oh yeah, girl, I advise with you, because same. There's so many other words, let's use those. So those are my top 3, and I was like, shit, it ain't no point in me watching the show no more. These are my top 3. I'm just trying to see how far they get in. So then the last two come in, and then the first person is Chloe, who's apparently from Too Hot to Handle. Never seen that show, probably not going to watch it. She came in like a firecracker. She definitely looks like good at TV, and I wouldn't be upset if she was the first one to go as well. Like, she was very much so a lot for me, but I mean, girl, I in the house, and a lot of people eat that, and I think Netflix knew that, and she definitely caters to the demographic, because I think out of the other girls in the house, like, they're all different. So I think she was definitely the one that's gonna give them the boom, flirty, like, bitch, what was said. I'm from England, so, you know, I have a dark, dry sense of humor, so I'm gonna read the girls. Whatever. And then the last person that came in was Courtney, and oh my god, I feel like I'm in the Circle House. Like, when he came in, he was like, okay, lights, okay, camera, okay, action. I was like, bitch, why am I looking at myself in this house? And I didn't know how I felt about that. And I was like, damn, I already picked my top 3. But Courtney, I'm going to keep you somewhere, like, you know, in there in case one of them drop out. You can definitely jump into that spot. And I think Courtney, he's a host. So he does social media stuff. Like, he does a lot of things in an entertainment realm. So he sort of has a good know of, but I think that that's going to fare well for him in the house, as long as they don't. It's just very, our type of personalities, it's very hard to know how people are going to receive them. And it's just so much work that needs to go into, okay, how am I going to craft myself so that they, whatever. So anyway, it starts off as a this or that type of game. That was the first game that they played. So they do a whole bunch of different games, so you can really get to know everyone's personalities. And then, like, you know, if you want to make side alliances or side conversations and chats, that's how you do it. So the this or that chat was very cute, very telling. Got to see a lot of people's personalities, and then it also showed you how other people's first impressions sort of played into how they think of people on the show, which is very important. And sometimes people, like, can't think of the word, but like ratify, like people are like, okay, my first impression was right, or they're like, bitch, I thought that about you, but that was completely wrong. Like, you know, yeah, the people who the questions was about, definitely it made sense for them. Getting more into them playing the game. So like I said, I didn't really care for Jack, and I'm gonna try to use their catfish name so I don't like confuse anyone. So I didn't really care for Emily at first, just because I don't like the person who's catfishing as Emily. But I will say Emily's playing a very good game that the girls need to watch out for. Emily made this little group chat with the girls and was like, all right, let's have at it, let's have a talk, let's have a key. And I think what was so funny is that she ain't say shit in it. So she, like, made the group and then hit her hands and was like, wow, this is nice. And they already feel closer to her because she's there. And, like, you know, it could be her personality. Maybe they're all bold or whatever. So hashtag girl gang, hashtag the only alliance I'm rooting for. I don't really care about Chloe, and I don't really care about Emily. But Terralisha and Savannah, I'm rooting for y'all. So whoever y'all need to allow with, let's do it. So they get that little side alliance going. And then I want to say a little after that, they end up having the first rating ceremony. So where that goes, I'll go from bottom to top. Bottom was Brian, and I'm like, damn. Now, why my fave got to be in the end? Like, but granted, he ain't make that good of an impression on the girls like he did on America's Next Top Model. So, like, Brian, let's come on. Then it was Emily. I was like, good, get that bitch out. Like, she don't give me nothing. So let the villain be the first one to leave, and that'll be a humble check for your ass, or humility check for your ass. Then it was Chloe. Another person I didn't care if she left. I knew Netflix wasn't about to let her be the first boot, but I was like, girl, let her be. I don't care. And then it was a tie between River and Courtney, who I think are also playing that good laid back under the radar game. Which I'm like very surprised for Courtney, because I'm like, girl, like Courtney also in that little this or that game got everybody right. Like Courtney is observant as fuck, and the girls don't know that, the girls don't see that, and I like that for Courtney. But I'm also like, damn, how can they not see that? So being in the middle, in my opinion, is a good thing, because you're not the type, you're not an influencer, so all eyes are on you, and you're not at the bottom where people are like, okay, you're probably gonna get sent home because no one likes you. Then it goes Trevor, and I'm like, okay, girl, look at how you over here eating up the competition, because you damn near got exposed. So in the girl chat, they was like, who the fuck say 411? I do, first and foremost. And like just the lingo that he was using, hashtag I'm a fun guy. Him and Chloe definitely was heavy on the flirting in the first group chat. And I think that everyone noticed that. And I think that that made a target on Trevor. So I was very surprised to see him as number 3. Number 2 was my girl, Savannah. Like it should be. The bitch came to play the game, and that's what she's doing. And then number 1 was my girl, Terralisha. Girl, I was first, but I don't want y'all to see that I'm not matching. But yeah, I was so happy to see Terralisha as the first influencer. Like, come on, black people magic. First and fourth. Once again, and I guess third, like Trevor. I don't really know the race ethnicity of Delisa. Also, besides the point. But yeah, I'm rooting for the girls. So I'm like, all right, let's see how this is about to come on out. Like, let's go. But immediately they had to save someone. So Terralisha saved Emily, which girl gang. And then Savannah ended up having a conversation with Trevor and decided to save his ass, because they big bro little sis. Yeah. And I'm just like, girl, now what's all this shit you was talking earlier? Because she was the one who also said, y'all got any suspicions on Trevor? So for her to save him, I'm like, girl, you just expose yourself to your alliance, which I think is most important, versus the rest of the group. Because if you expose yourself to the rest of the group, who cares? Of course the girls are going to be working together. Like, that's to be expected. But now the girls in your alliance are like, why is she voting for that bitch and not me? So Chloe like, bitch, I'm the only girl who's not safe. What the fuck does this mean for me? And they end up sending my girl Bryant home, which I wanted River to go home. I wanted fucking Chloe to go home. As long as it wasn't Courtney or Bryant, I really didn't care. So that little exchange that they actually had was the start of what I think is going to shape the rest of the season. Of like, essentially Savannah, she had a side conversation with Courtney, River had a side conversation with Terralisha, and that sort of like were people who they were off limits. Chloe was off limits for both of them, so that left Bryant. It was no other choice. So the fact that they were like, well, I'm not trying to get rid of Courtney and I'm not trying to get rid of River, because that's big bro little sis again, or little bro big sis on one end, and then like just whatever, because they did like a poetry thing and they end up connecting from that, like a poetry challenge. Hey, y'all showing y'all hands, and I think that was the start of the tension, which just continues to unfold. So the next day, like, they were like, oh my gosh, Emily messy ass was like, it's sad to see you go, or it's sad to see Bryant go. Like, I know that was hard for y'all. Like, how did y'all come up with that decision? Now, bitch, you said you was gonna come to play the villain, and I guess you motherfucking are doing that. Emily is a bitch to watch out for. Emily, Trevor, Chloe, and Courtney are the girls to watch out for that aren't necessarily getting all the attention, but baby, they should. So that cracked me up. And then Terralisha was like, well, girl, let me start this pot a little bit, and let's see how this gets going. And then they have a truth or dare game where all hell breaks loose. And the question was, who do you think is the biggest gamer? Terralisha said Savannah, which I agree. I think Savannah is the biggest gamer. She's open about it. And I think that she was shocked. And I think that both of them shocked, because both of them wanted to be that HBIC, because that's what they started as. They started as the top 2 influencers. They really clicked with one another. They really had the same like sort of wavelength mindset, but they're aligned with different people. And I think that that's one of the things in being in these games. You might connect with somebody, but the people who y'all are separately aligned with might make y'all have a clash. And I think that's exactly what happened. So I thought it was funny that like Tara Alicia was like her, and then Savannah, they was like, who do you trust, Alicia? She said Tara Alicia. And when I tell y'all, I'm always rooting for everybody black, but Savannah ate the fuck out of Tara Alicia in that little thing. Girl, her Twitter fingers was chomping, okay? She said, well, she's the one who says something and does another, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and how dare, and yeah, that's the one to look out. She ate her up, and Tara Alicia said, pathetic actions speak louder than words, which I think was Tara Alicia's way of reeling herself in and being like, I'm about to curse this bitch out, and I'm damn near gonna leave my apartment and go knock in to see where the fuck she at, because bitch, you're not about to talk to me crazy. And I think that is why she just said that, but like I said, I think that's going to unfold for the rest of the season. So let me hurry up and finish up, child, because, I chatted with some of my friends. Shout out to Miles, Oscar, and Jayla. And they said they would only watch a video if it was like 8 to 15 minutes. So I'm probably about to go on 20. We shall see. So going into the other rankings from bottom to top. After Savannah tries to get her girls together, after Shirley's trying to get her girls together, I use girl as a gender inclusive term, by the way. And as they trying to get their girlies together, this is what the new ranking system came up with. At the bottom was my girl, Tara Alicia. Thought it was gonna happen, especially she black girl, I think that, I forgot to say, Lance Bass, or whatever, the catfish of Lance Bass, Lisa, entered the chat. As Bryant left, she really hasn't been that important, so I completely forgot about her character. I'm sure she's going to have a storyline the next 4 episodes, but child, I completely forgot all about her. Anyway, because she wasn't on the block, or because Lance wasn't on the block, but when Lance was able to vote for everybody, and I guess the people who was talking with Lance was like, yeah, Tara Alicia, I don't know about that one. I think that's why she also got that low ranking, but Savannah was right there, and that's what I knew. Those type of personalities, those big, bold personalities, when you start off at the top, baby, you're gonna fall even harder. That's what happened, unfortunately. Then it was River. How is River still in this game? River is playing a really good game by being under the radar, and I need y'all girls to catch up on it and seeing him gone. Also, Brian ended up seeing River, and River is actually a really emotional person, and I think that's super sweet, but still get him the fuck out of here. If you ain't trying to play the game, which he is. Then it was Trevor once again. It was Courtney, then River. Courtney, girl, you might need to think twice about aligning with Savannah because if you was aligned with the other girls, and I definitely think so. I think that Savannah's allies are a lot more vocal and really about that work and about that life and gonna stand for Savannah more so than Tara Alicia's are. Anyway, going back to it, it was Trevor. Trevor was 3rd place. I'm happy. So here's my little thing about Trevor. The way that Delisha keeps saying, oh my gosh, I think it's just so amazing that, to hear from a guy and a guy, girl, you said that the bar is low and you're keeping it there by making it seem like a guy giving you attention, a guy giving you affection, a guy giving you any type of whatever is, baby, the world. Anyway, then it's my girl Emily playing that meek and mild game. Girl, Jack, I did not fuck with you. But you playing the motherfucking game, girl, and I gotta give you kudos. And Chloe, I did not fuck with you either, girl, but you playing the motherfucking game. Chloe, skipping ahead, so Chloe's the #1 influencer. They get into the next nomination ceremony, and Chloe is like, girl, well, we can't let Trevor go because that's bae. Girl, bae is already baed up, but I would definitely be trying to bae up with Trevor and trying to link up with Trevor too, girl, if I was you, because he fine as hell. But, so Trevor got you 110%, and then I'm a 3 amigos with River and Courtney. They're in a really good place, if Chloe can say that. And Chloe's in a really good place to be aligned with all these people on top of the girl gang. The only people that's missing, I would say, is nobody, Lance. So it's like, Chloe, you playing the good ass game, girl. You might stay up there, and you might fall. And so my girl Savannah had to go. So basically, I'm 2 for 1 now. 2 of my favorites got kicked out. If Tara Alicia go out, I don't know how to pick them. So that's what I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But I will say, so everyone gets to pick someone to see. And so Savannah during that thing, Savannah and Terry Alicia have a little conversation. I think that was big on Terry Alicia's part, but then she left, and I was like, girl, why are you so petty? But Savannah, when she leaves, she gets to pick one person to go see, and she picks Courtney. And I like their relationship, I really do. I side-eye Courtney just because Courtney doesn't want to do Terry Alicia, whereas Terry Alicia, the only reason why she says she would vote him out is because he might be competition in the end, which is true. And it's like, yes, all these other people might be, but Courtney damn near is one to watch out for. And I think that's why Terry Alicia is so smart. But once again, when you're aligned with different people, you see things differently, and that makes a clash. So she was like, yeah, fuck that bitch, Terry Alicia, which I'm like, all right, Savannah, you reading anti-black teas, girl. You reading anti-black teas. Like, bring it on down. Bring it on down. Anywho, and, you know, they have a little key. Courtney gets a leg up, and he gets to be in the inner circle, whatever the fuck that means, and we'll find out next week. One of the things I'm looking forward to, I know that this Terry Alicia Savannah beef is not over. I think even if Terry Alicia left, it wouldn't be over. I think that they would blame it on, like, you know, Terry Alicia, they'll say it's over because Terry Alicia's gone. So I think with Savannah gone, they're gonna be like, it's still beef because of Terry Alicia, and that's gonna be the reason why they send her out. Unless a big bad villain comes out, unless a catfish reveals themselves as a catfish, unless someone says, hey, I don't want to be here anymore, I think Terry Alicia might be the next one out. I'm hoping that she's not. But moving up in my ranks, I would say, Terry Alicia, you're still number one, girl. I'm still rooting for you. You still don't motherfucking go and get it. I would say number 2 would be Courtney, solely just because of the fact that he's black. He wasn't in my original top 3. And I would say for my 3rd spot, vying for that, I think it's a toss-up between Trevor, which everybody else, Trevor, Chloe, and Emily. Trevor, just because I think he's playing a nice little, or she's playing, whatever, playing a nice little low-key game. Emily, because that villain side is coming out. However, you're about to be seen, because Savannah said don't trust your ass. So I'm interested to see what happens when they attack Emily and how she responds. That depends on if Jack moves up in my list. And Chloe, because Chloe, girl, I underestimated you. I really did. Even though all the girls was looking at you and was like, I love you, I underestimated you, girl. So come on and show us what it is. So thank y'all for watching. I hope the video wasn't too long. And hope you like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned, because I will be reviewing The Circle every week until it's over. Watch my other videos too.